Well, hi, this is Lynn McRae, and I'm here with Teresa Walding. We represent Advancing Nurse Coaching. We are so glad to be here today. We are now at the 28th day of May, almost the end of May, about to be summer. June is just around the corner, and our hearts are with nurses. We started our program, Advancing Holistic Health, 11 years ago, next month. And it has been so exciting for us to be able to share with nurses nationwide and even worldwide the foundational principles that we have learned that really help us steer through life's muddy waters. And I just am so thrilled today that Teresa has picked out a topic, and I'll let her tell you about that.
So, hello everyone. I'm glad you're here today. I just, like all of us, I think, have been wondering where nursing is going, what we're doing. What does AI mean in the next generation of nursing? And, as holistic nurses, what does that mean as holistic nurses? Maintaining our humanness in the era of AI, I think, is a topic worth discussing. I don't have any answers. I do my research as best I can. Um, and I like to be in on the new topics and the new way that people are using the new technology to help people. And I know that there's a lot of fear now about like, where will it go and what will it lead to? But there's only ever been one real place where human beings live, and that's in this body. It's in our lives, and it's with our own.
We have discovered that through our students and through ourselves, there are many pain
Yeah.
points in nursing today. And what we realized when we opened our program is that dissatisfaction with the profession is coming at exactly the same time as holistic nursing is bringing holistic nursing and nurse coaching. There's no mistake in that. There's a
Yeah.
perfect match for the concerns that nurses have today.
Yeah. Yeah. I get concerned like everybody else. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. What does it mean to move into the future and to embrace the time in history that we are? I think there's a false sense of security when we think about, let's go back to the olden days. Well, I think there's things to learn there, but we didn't have things um, in our society back then that we have now. You know, and I think new tools, new ways of doing nursing, doing care, even living our own lives. I mean, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have a lot of things that are modern conveniences. And I really think as we move forward into the future, remembering our humanness is the most important part we bring to this conversation.
Wow, that really is it, isn't it? I mean,
Hmm.
nursing represents the ground level of humanity everywhere. Nursing actually is the largest profession in the world. We have 4 million nurses in the US today, 14 million worldwide. I mean, it's because of the hospitals. We are employed at the hospitals 24/7, 365 at every hospital in the world. So the numbers are there. We truly are the largest profession, but I never see that as front page news. It's just always been that way. For example, the second largest is the physicians, and they only have 1 million. We have 4 million in the US today. So we outnumber the docs 4-1.
Well, and we can't do without them either, can we?
Can't
I
live
mean,
with them, can't live without
I
them.
know
Yep.
it. I don't know. I guess I've been giving a lot of thought about what it means for us nurses, others who really aspire to really have that human connection. And especially where we're so task driven at work, how many things can we do in a minute, right? And how fast can we move people through when all we really want to do is slow down and be with our people and make that difference. I know just for our family, navigating healthcare has been quite a challenge. Um, you know, multiple appointments to get little or nothing done has been quite eye-opening. And I often wonder what would have happened to us had I not been a nurse that could navigate that system. And I think over time, I've realized, wow, these people that were helping us, the doctors, the nurses, all of the staff, everyone involved in our care, um, were really just trying to work through a system that wasn't made for them. And it's checking all the boxes, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. And yet somewhere in the middle, there were a few practitioners who actually stopped and put their phones down, didn't look at the computer, and actually took time to listen. And I can tell you who they are. And I find that very interesting just from my own perspective as a nurse. Like, how many times did I make sure that I put my phone down or put my pen down or, didn't worry so much about the next thing I needed to do? And I can remember many times at the bedside, especially in the last few years, where that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to have to do all of the other tasks. I just wanted to do what needed to happen now. And turns out those are the most impactful interactions that we have. And I believe that is what holistic nursing is that place where we just see each other as human to human.
Well, I know that the National Conference for Holistic Nursing is coming up in June. It's the 10th through the 14th. It's going to be at Niagara Falls this year. What fun. We have regional conferences also. And in January last year, we actually got the opportunity to have the president of the American Holistic Nurses and the executive director hosted in Houston, Texas. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing because holistic nursing actually started in Houston, Texas. There was a nurse by the name of Charlie McGuire, Charlotte, and she was inspired by Norm Shealy, who was part of the Holistic Medical Association, no longer in existence, but he really inspired her to have a holistic nursing organization. And at that time, she was working for a large corporation, 5 different hospitals she was in charge of. And she had a company car driving everywhere in Texas. And she just put her keys on the supervisor's desk one day and said, "This is not the way that we need to be doing nursing now." Well, that was 47 years ago. And already they had seen, the holistic nurses had seen that an arm here and a leg there was not holistic care.
What do you think Charlie McGuire would say today?
Wow, that is a really good question. How much farther into the biomedical model has nursing gotten? Wow. Well, it looks like we've been joined by Kendra. Welcome, Kendra. We're delighted to have you join us and would love to have you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. And if it's not possible for you to speak, that's understandable. It's perfectly fine. But we are here to answer questions. So if you have a chance to put a question in the chat or raise your hand. We'd love to help answer questions about holistic nursing, nurse coaching, and nursing today. Not that we have all the answers, but that it's time for us to have not only a place at the table, but also to have a voice. And having a voice is having a vote. So when we can be part of the great change that is occurring in healthcare today, that's exactly where we need to be.
Well, I was thinking about my question about what Charlie McGuire would think about today. She would be a catalyst for change, even today. She would come in and say, "Okay, what are we going to do now? How are we going to move forward from here?" And not lose our humanity. In American Holistic Nurses, one of the tenets is to treat a person as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. Well, that is the true essence of a human being. That's why it's there. And I think if we kind of calm down all the noise and think, what is a human being and how do we interact with the world? I think we have a chance to remember our humanity in a fast-paced world. To pause and remember that we have to slow down to the speed of life because it's what we have. This is, we get this one body, this one life, this one time in history. And what do we do with it? Charlie McGuire decided to create the holistic nurses, what are we creating today? And I think so many nurses now have, I'm going to say, gotten bitten by the entrepreneur bug that, like, I know I can go out and create something that will actually help people, even if they stay at their job. But to create that space and that fulfillment of knowing that we're helping people right where we live. And I think that's really the best place we can focus our attention is on the here and now and taking care of what needs to be taken care of in this moment and embracing the values of what we're doing in the world of nursing. And I would love for any nurse who's interested in what the future might look like to join the conversation, because I think as we come together as nurses, as healthcare providers, that we can really truly impact people in that way.
We're having a gathering tomorrow evening of all of the graduates of our program, and Teresa and I are so excited just to hear about what adventures they've had, and so many of them already have set up their own business. I think when the NIH did the study in 2018, excuse me, about 25% of the nurses who were board certified nurse coaches had private practice. And I think those numbers are growing every day. It's one of the things I love about holistic nursing and coaching and is that we have no limits as far as which clinical area we come from. All clinical areas need nurse coaches. And I love that aspect. So there are absolutely no exceptions. And every age group of clients is
And
also
I can work
welcome.
around what time works for him.
Hello, Pat. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, we'd love to have you introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Where is your home?
Oh, she turned her microphone off.
Hi, I'm Pat.
Hey,
Well,
Pat.
I'm in
welcome.
Massachusetts, but I split my time usually between Vermont and Florida.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I've been a
Wow.
nurse since 75 and have done all kinds of other things, including Ayurvedic teaching, a PhD in natural health, and I'm a registered herbalist.
Oh,
Wonderful.
fabulous. And now you're interested in nurse coaching. or
Yeah.
holistic nursing?
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Well, our organization has been around since 1983, and it started in Houston, Texas. Charlie McGuire put a tiny little, just a few lines in a classified ad in the American Journal of Nursing, and it said, if you want to get in on the ground floor of holistic nursing, meet at this place at this time. 78 people showed up in her apartment in Houston. That
Wow.
was the beginning.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What a foundation that they've laid for us, to come behind and continue the mission.
Margaret Erickson's the director of the American Holistic Nurses Credentialing Corporation. So she's in charge of putting together the testing that all of us take to become certified. And her mom is actually nurse theorist Helen Erickson, one of the most revered nurse theorists for holistic nursing.
Well, then why don't you let them know exactly what holistic nursing is?
Well, Teresa already let you know about the first major tenet, which is taking care of the patient as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. The second is including alternative modalities when they are appropriate. And then the third really is closest to my heart, taking care of the nurse first. Wow. So I thought about that and I thought, well, how do we do that? And then I thought, well, we just go back to the first tenet, taking care of ourselves as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. It is just as they say on the airlines, put your own oxygen mask on first. You can't help others if you can't take care of yourself first. And that really is where nursing is at in the world today. We need to be supporting each other. We need to be having each other's backs. But we each have an individual responsibility to ourselves for our own self-care. And so then I thought, okay, what is it about self-care, taking care of ourselves, that is the single most important thing? And I reflected on that for days, walking up and down the street, walking through my house. And then I realized it's dropping self-criticism. And how do we do that? The answer came very clearly. We simply love ourselves more. That is the most important part of self-care for nurses.
I think that's a place where we often think it's always for the other person or for the patient. For years and years, I think that our focus has been on the others, and I'm really happy to hear the conversation turning to the practitioners and the providers, because if we're healthier, then our patients will be healthier. And it's synergistic. It can't be one or the other. It has to be both. And I think the times are changing. I think in the modern era, even in the way that we do our training, more and more nursing programs are incorporating the module on self-care. And some of the programs are even creating the nurse coach course, because they're realizing the value of teaching us nurses how to communicate with each other, how to understand human behavior, especially where it seems like we're also easily swayed by what we see on social media, that we're forgetting what it means and what it's like to be human and have a real conversation and touch a real person. And that part of us that we don't really ever talk about deeply craves and desires human connection. And we know it. When we're in it, we know. When we have a conversation with someone and there's a connection there, and we know that what we've said or whatever we're doing makes an impact, we know that we've touched that person's life in a way that has meaning, and we become unforgettable and they become unforgettable to us. We all have the patient where that happened, and we can remember all the details because that's what human beings do. That's why we live in groups, even though there's a lot of people now who don't. But I think as we've forgotten how to do that. Especially in the world of AI, where the AI seems like it is very human. It knows us very well. Anyone who's played with the GPTs and asks it questions, and the more that you play with it, the more it reflects you, and it feels good. The only problem is it's not alive. We need to have some way for the human connection to continue in and around and through all the new innovations that we have. And I really believe nurses are the ones who can see it the best.
Well, and it's so being adopted even at the highest levels in nursing. We're really privileged that we were invited to bring our program to a very well-respected university here in Texas, and it's in their doctoral nurse practitioner curriculum. So you can either pay us for our online program or pay a private school's graduate tuition and take the same course.
Yeah.
But we love it that we're offering continuing education here and academic credit there.
Yeah. But do either one of you have any questions for us? Curiosities, questions about us, anything? Lynn, tell them about the program just a little bit, what they get inside the coursework.
Okay. Well, the way we have it set up is, of course, most wonderful because we set it up that way. But it is a program that is completely self-paced and has rolling enrollment. So you can start anytime. And the requirements to become a holistic nurse are 48 continuing education hours, and the requirement for nurse coaching is 60 continuing education hours. Now, the nurse coaching also requires 60 hours of coaching, which is supervised, and that's included in our program. But people can choose either the holistic nursing route or the nurse coaching route. And some prefer to start with holistic nursing and then go on to nurse coaching. So there's no wrong way to do it. The point is simply to begin and to get a feel for something that is new in the profession. So Florence Nightingale told us in the year 1870 that nursing would change completely in 150 years. What year was that? That was 2020. Everything changed.
Yeah. So Kendra was asking how long the program is. So it's continuing education, so it's hours in the chair. So 60 hours of the coursework and then 60 hours of actually doing the coaching practice. And that's scheduled on your own time with the clients that you find, friends, family, colleagues. We have ideas for you to be able to connect with people who are willing to volunteer for coaching. So those are the minimum requirements of being able to complete the continuing education that's required for sitting for the exam. So it's 60 hours of holistic CE and 60 hours of coaching practice to sit for the nurse coach board exam. And if you're interested in the holistic nurse exam, which I know Lynn just talked about, the requirement, according to AHNCC, which is the certifying body, is 48 CEs, which is why we're helping people get both exams at the same, they can sit for both exams with the same continuing education credits. I hope that makes sense. Kendra, did I answer your question for you? Or do you still have more? And I see you can't work your mic, so that's fine. Sometimes it's like that. Okay, good. Yeah. And with rolling enrollment, that means you can start anytime. I know Lynn just said that, but our coursework can be done in 16 weeks, which is a semester of how it's set up at the university, but you can take longer. We like to see people complete it within a year. We have most people complete it within 6 to 9 months, because that's about how long it takes. If you're working, if you're not working full time, obviously you can do it much quicker. You're on mute, Lynn.
We had people that actually were able to complete it in 3 months. And it's, easy listening. We have a wonderful, wonderful video editor who created all of our videos. And so for each 20-hour course, and there are 4 20-hour courses, there are 15.5 hours of video that you watch on your own time, and then 4.5 hours of class if you're taking the nurse coaching track. Now, you don't have that if you're in holistic nursing, but it's for nurse coaching, it's required to have the live coaching call.
So Kendra, I don't know if you can type it in here, but is there anything that you're hoping to do, or whatever you want to get out of the future of your professional career that you think what nurse coaching might help you with? Or I know I'm going to wait for you to type in case that's what you're doing, but a lot of the nurses I speak with, they either want to do their own practice or they want to know how to incorporate this into the units where they work. And people are doing both. Well, one of my friends, she's actually creating programs and showing nurses how to create the nurse coaching within their facilities so that they're supporting the nurses, but the nurses are also bringing that knowledge into the patient care. And she's doing amazing work. And I think it's really fun to see all the different ways that nurses are bringing their knowledge and their skills and getting creative and doing fun things. And, they're even expanding out into retreats and that self-care piece that we so definitely want. And nurses are here that have that dream and desire to do it. And I think that's an exciting time. So she says she's in the process of a holistic program, started nurse coaching business, but feel it would be better if you're certified. Yeah, and I also think being certified lends credibility to our profession. One of the things that has not been clear for nursing is what do nurses do? What exactly is it that you do? And the nurse coaching and the holistic nurse really does give voice to what it is that we do. And it really comes down to the feeling and the presence. And that's exactly what holistic nursing and the nurse coaching is about. You're having difficulty finding clients and feel that that may be the issue. And I think you're right. I think a lot of nurses are finding that, like, I have the skill, I have the knowledge, I have the container. You know, many of the nurse coaches have a dream or desire to do a certain kind or a certain part of nursing. And then comes the marketing. And then comes like, well, where do I find my people? And I think that's one of the gaps that Lynn and I really did see about nurses are not as visible as we could be.
And we've
And
never explained to the public exactly what it is that we do. They
yeah,
only see us at the hospital or at the doctor's office. And, you know, we're always busy and doing something, but they don't know what it is.
yeah. And I think in the future, and this is part of the holistic nursing and nurse coaching that I really see as bridging the gaps, is us coming together and joining conversations with each other and creating companies that you're not the lone man out there. You know, it's one of the reasons that we create professional associations or a a PLLC, a professional limited liability company, in order to work together to pool resources and knowledge and figure out what are the next steps. There's a couple of our students are actually business coaches, so if you're interested in that, let me know. But they're doing some amazing work because they've been in business themselves for 20 to 40 years. So they have a little bit of insight on what the market is doing and how to um, really make that impact that so many of us want to do. So I'm open to those conversations. Just reach out. We can have a conversation about what that looks like.
And so many of our students have told us that they've had such wonderful insights as they made their way through the coursework. They didn't have an idea of the type of clients that they wanted to serve, but as the things progressed, as they progressed in the coursework, their insights became much more often
Mhm.
and more clear, so that they could see exactly where to go next. It does not have to be decided before you begin. It's a process, and allowing that process to unfold is part of nursing today.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a wonderful conversation. It's a needed conversation. And I think the more of us that come together in the conversation, the better we'll have answers. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but no man is an island. And we really do need to come together and join forces to see, what is it that we can do and the impact that we can make. Um, and bring everyone along. It's not about an us against anybody or an us against the hospitals or any of that. It's like, how can we make it better for everyone? And so to do that, we all have to be in on the conversation, because the one place I see most often is nursing is missing in the leadership of the decision makers of what they're bringing to us for us to use. And we all know as nurses, you can bring anything you want, but if it doesn't work within our own work practice of what we know to be true, it won't get adopted. We'll just do the workarounds. We'll go, oh, well, that part doesn't work, and we'll go back to what we know. And that's a conversation that the people in leadership, in the creation of the AI networks and all of the different ways that we're using it, nurses must be part of that. And I think the more of us that are, the better off we will be in the end. Do you have any last minute things, Lynn?
Just that it's the most exciting time in history for nursing, because what we're actually doing is rewriting the definition of nursing, and the work that nurses do. So join us as part of the advanced group and in creating what will become the transformed healthcare system. Nurses are the most important part of that. And we can have a seat at the table, and we can have a voice. And it's time for us to represent ourselves in the most positive way.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kendra. So she said she enjoyed being a care coach at an insurance company. Yeah, the insurance companies have caught on very early. They've been hiring nurse coaches for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they use it to help keep people out of the hospital. It's great.
They know the value of preventive care.
Yes, they
And
do.
the rest of the system is just beginning to wake up to that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Kendra, I appreciate you being here. I wish your microphone would have worked, but you are welcome to reach out. I'd love to just meet you if you have some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be back. Oh gosh, I guess we don't have a date set yet. We'll have to send out an email letting everybody know when we'll be in touch next. Thanks so
Okay.
much. Have a
All
good
right.
day. Bye
All
for
right.
now.
Take care. Bye-bye. Kendra, I'm going to drop my email right here. Let me know when you got it.